You must leave here. This castle is alive.
Who's there?
Do you wish to take your father's place?
Come into the light.
Hello, welcome to Film Rant. Well, it's time to talk about everyone's favourite story about Stockholm Syndrome and beastiality, but this time it's in HD with one of your favourite childhood heroes, if you're my age that is. Of course, I'm talking about the live action adaptation of the 90s Disney classic Beauty and the Beast, directed by Bill Condon. You just know what the kids called him in school, don't you? Before I get into the nitty gritty, I want to state that this is probably going to be the only Disney live action review I do, mostly because I know the original so well since it's my girlfriend's favourite movie ever, and just because I find these live action remakes incredibly difficult to talk about, or at least make a decent review out of. You'll find out what I mean when I talk about the script later. This review will be relatively spoiler free, but I will talk about one or two things that the movie does that is different from the original, so if you want absolutely nothing spoiled, get on Philippe and gallop down to your local cinema and see the movie. So what makes Beauty and the Beast so good in the first place is its brilliant characters, so I'll start with them. Everyone's favourite SWAT, Emma Watson, plays the protagonist Belle, who is pretty much exactly the same as she is in the original. Emma does a perfectly good Belle, but I do have a problem with Belle overall. I just think she's duller than having an episode of EastEnders on in the background as you watch your parents take their own lives. She's a fine protagonist, she's easy to side with, and she's clearly very noble and dignified given that she chooses to sacrifice herself being the Beast's captive in order to free her father. That's an admirable thing to do. But aside from that, I don't find her that interesting, and Emma Watson doesn't really bring anything to the role to make her any more interesting than she was in the original. In a similar vein, Dan Stevens does a perfectly good job of portraying the Beast, but again, the Beast is pretty much exactly the same as he is in the original. The only addition we see is a little clip of what he was like before the curse was cast on him, which is welcomed, but still I didn't find him any more interesting than he is in the original. That said though, I think he's an interesting character to start with. He has something to learn, and it's great watching his arc develop as he learns to love Belle, even if his arc is a little rushed. There is an issue in this movie though, as his arc is to not learn to judge people by their cover, which starts when he refuses to provide hospitality to a lost old lady who he deems as unfit to be in his castle due to her appearance. But then he learns not to judge people by their appearance by falling in love with the most beautiful woman in the town, which is the words of the characters in the movie, not mine. If Belle was average looking or below, then I could sort of see the Beast learning to look within people instead of what's on the surface, but after very little time with her he takes a look at her and thinks, "Aye lad, I'm having some of that." It's a problem in the original too, so I can't pin it on this remake entirely. Luke Evans does a fantastic job of portraying Gaston. His voice isn't as booming or dickish as the original, so he does lose that little something, but Evans' portrayal of Gaston is still great. He actually seems to be a little less dickish in this version, but not by much. I actually find Gaston the most interesting character in the tale, both in the original and in this version. He's interesting because, for all intents and purposes, he's the hero. Look at the story from his point of view. If you remove his very misogynistic and archaic lust for Belle and his wishes to make her his housewife, you get a hero. He finds out the woman he's in love with has been kidnapped by a vicious beast who held her father captive. So Gaston, a hunter, decides he will hunt the beast and save the princess in the castle. Your classic fairy tale, right? Only the movie takes the point of view of the Beast and Belle, so Gaston is the villain. The movie makes the character with some of the hero qualities the villain. When I say hero qualities, I mean his skills and some of his motive, not his very sexist lust for Belle. Gaston fully believes he's the hero of the movie, and that's his downfall. Because he thinks he's the hero, he believes he can say and do whatever he likes because he's invincible, right? He's got plot armor. Unfortunately for him, the movie takes more time to focus on the first initially perceived villain and reveal that he can actually be a nice guy when you look deep within. Gaston's only negative trait is that he's sexist and selfish. You take those away and you have the recipe for a hero with his character. He's basically the whole point of the story in one character. He's the Beast before the curse was placed on him, and he decides to kill the Beast based on his appearance. A beast, a monster, so he must be bad and he must be slain, which is something that we as an audience and heroes in general usually assume. I just love the parallels between Gaston and the Beast and how it's the movie's viewpoint that can really change who the hero is. The narrative itself solidifies Gaston as the real villain by making him an absolute twat, but if you alter the writing slightly to make Gaston a more neutral character, then you have a very interesting insight into how narrative viewpoint and characters work. Along with Gaston, Josh Gad was a highlight of the movie too. He played LeFou and was the comedic relief throughout, with the addition of Lumiere and Cogsworth, who were just as charming as they were in the original. Gad had some wonderful one-liners which he delivered brilliantly, and he was without doubt a shining light in this movie. The rapport between Ewan McGregor and Ian McKellen as Lumiere and Cogsworth respectively was also very good, and they did their characters justice. If you love these characters in the original, you'll love them in this. So that's it for the characters, and now let's talk about the script. Normally in my reviews this is the longest section, but in this review this will undoubtedly be the shortest section, because I really only have 2 points to make. I mentioned in the intro that I find it difficult to talk about these Disney HD edition remakes, and that's because they do absolutely nothing for me. I don't really see a valid reason for them to exist at all. Part of the reason this script section is so short is because there's nothing different to the original in it, so there's nothing to talk about. While I thoroughly enjoyed both The Jungle Book and Beauty and the Beast, I've not seen Tarzan so I won't pass comment, I couldn't help but think I didn't see much point in them. Neither offer anything that makes me want to watch them over the original. The movie industry is littered with remakes and reboots, but often these movies change something about the original that make them better or worse. Often worse. Looking at you, psycho. These live-action Disney remakes only alter very slight elements, and everything else is almost shot for shot the same as the originals. Beauty and the Beast HD gives a bit more backstory to Belle's mother's fate and a little more insight into what happened during the Beast's curse, but ultimately it's not enough for me to make it warrant its existence. There's a small segment near the end where the movie does something totally different to the original, and that got me on the edge of my seat. I thought, wow, are they going to do it? Are they going to give it a sour ending by killing everyone? Does Belle fail? That would be amazing to me. I understand that it wouldn't really work given the whole point of the movie and the fact that it's marketed to little kids, so their parents will buy the absolute monstrosity that is the Emma Watson Belle doll, but I would have loved it if they had changed the ending so that Belle failed to save the Beast and he died in her arms. Don't get me wrong here, I've got absolutely no idea how that would realistically work, and it probably never would, but I was aching for something different to happen, and that teased it just a little before it was taken away. Ultimately, both with Beauty and the Beast and The Jungle Book, I just find them to be completely pointless. They're enjoyable once, but they tell you the exact same story as the originals, so after watching these, if I wanted to watch the movies again, I would choose the originals. I don't think the live action element really adds anything to them either, since about 75% of them is CG anyway, whether it be green screen backgrounds or CGI characters. However, what set design there is phenomenal, but I'll get to that later. I understand that a lot of you probably do find something enjoyable and purposeful in these movies, but they do absolutely nothing for me, which is why I'm not keen on reviewing them. The second point I have to make is that there's still some weird bestiality vibes in this movie, even more realised due to the live action. There's moments where Belle looks at the Beast and she's clearly giving him the eye, and yes, I know it's because that's the whole point of the movie, beauty is within and it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside, blah 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 blah. But my auntie's dog is beautiful on the inside, but that doesn't mean I want to fuck it. After all, it's still a fucking dog. Even if it could talk, there's still no way I'm going near her hairy ass. People in the town say that Belle is beautiful, but she's a bit weird. Belle seems like a perfectly normal person to me, and probably to you. What the movie tells us is weird about her is that she reads and loves books. In the context of Beauty and the Beast universe, that's meant to be a very odd thing. Personally, I think she's weird because she wants to fuck animals, but maybe that's just me. There's a really weird moment in the final moments of the movie too, where she's dancing with the Beast after he's transformed back into his human form, and she says, "Can you grow a beard?" She fucking wants him to be the hairy beast again! The woman is disturbed! Okay, that little section was just a little bit of fun. I get the point of the movie, but the subtle undertones of Stockholm Syndrome and bestiality can't be overlooked, and you know me, I'll always focus on shit like that. Also, those of you who complain about that fleeting gay moment in the movie, go fuck yourself. Or would that be too gay for you? From a technical standpoint, this movie adds 2 new songs to its already solid soundtrack, Evermore and Days in the Sun. Both of them fit the movie well and were welcomed additions. Both were performed well and I enjoyed hearing them, so the movie scores points for adding in those 2. Finally, I have to say that for the most part, this movie is technologically fantastic. The CGI for all of the characters within the castle is amazing, Lumiere especially. There's a few sloppy bits with the Beast that are noticeable, but it's nothing that would ruin the movie. The set design is absolutely out of this world too. The village is pretty much identical to how it appears in the original. The castle interior looks realistic and detailed. The woods successfully evoke that creepy, dangerous feeling they're meant to give. It just all works. The costume design is also spot on, recreating the animated costumes perfectly. I can't fault the movie on its technical achievements. It really is a perfect shot-for-shot remake of the original. But ultimately, that's why I'm not the biggest fan of the movie. Overall, it's a technical masterpiece with a great soundtrack, brilliant set design and great special effects, but it's basically the same deal you're getting with the original movie. The characters are exactly the same, the story is 95% the same, and the songs are done the same, with the exception of the additional 2. I guess I just want these remakes to offer something new. That's what I'm looking for. If that's not what you're looking for and you just want a shot-for-shot remake of the original, then you'll absolutely love it. I totally understand why Disney aren't going to change much with the script or characters because the original is so beloved by millions, but I just wanted something more from it. The original movie takes the original fairy tale and changes things within it to make the movie. I wanted this live action movie to do the same thing but to the next level. Take the original animated movie and change things within that to make it stand out by itself. But ultimately what we got was the original with an Instagram filter on top of it. However, it is still a good, fun movie, so Beauty and the Beast HD gets 4 frames out of 5. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Film Rant.